Nobody tells you this about King David's family tree. His great-grandmother was legally banned from ever being part of Israel. Not discouraged. Not frowned upon. Banned by law. Forever. Her name was Ruth, and she was from Moab. In ancient Israel, Moab wasn't just a neighboring country. It was the cursed nation. Their god Chemosh demanded child sacrifice. Their origin story involved incest. And Deuteronomy 23:3 laid it out. No Ammonite or Moabite or any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation. That's not a suggestion. That's a permanent ban. So the fact that this woman ends up in the direct bloodline of Israel's greatest king, and eventually Jesus himself, should make us ask, what happened? The story starts with a famine. A Jewish family, Elimelech and Naomi and their 2 sons, leave Bethlehem and move to Moab just to survive. Both sons marry Moabite women. Ruth is one of them. And then, over about 10 years, all 3 men die. Elimelech. Both sons. No heirs. No protection. 3 widows in a world where widows had 0 legal status and no economic options. Naomi hears the famine back in Judah has ended. So she decides to go home. And she tells her daughters-in-law, go back to your families. Find new husbands. You're young. You have a chance. One of them, Orpah, makes sense. Survival makes sense. But Ruth doesn't leave. And what she says on that road is one of the most intense speeches in Scripture. She looks at Naomi and says something no one expects. Ruth 1:16-17. Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go I will go. And where you stay I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God my God. Where you die I will die. And there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. This isn't just loyalty. This is conversion. She's choosing Naomi's God over Chemosh. She's choosing permanent refugee status in a country that could legally exclude her. She's choosing poverty with Naomi over the possibility of remarriage at home. And she's doing it knowing exactly what she's walking into. They arrive in Bethlehem at the start of barley harvest. The whole town is buzzing. Can this be Naomi? They barely recognize her. She's aged. She's broken. And she's brought back a Moabite daughter-in-law, which everyone notices immediately. The text calls Ruth the Moabitess over and over. She never stops being the foreigner. Ruth asks Naomi if she can go glean in the fields. Gleaning was the ancient version of picking through dumpsters. You followed behind the harvesters and picked up whatever grain they dropped or missed. It was subsistence-level survival, and it was dangerous for a young foreign woman working alone. But it's all she's got. She ends up, seemingly by chance, in a field owned by a man named Boaz. He's older, wealthy, and he's a relative of Naomi's dead husband, which matters in this culture. When Boaz sees Ruth, he asks his foreman, "Who is that young woman?" The foreman says, "She's the Moabite who came back with Naomi." Again, the label. But Boaz does something unexpected. He tells Ruth, "Stay in my fields. Drink from the water jars my servants fill. I've told the men not to touch you," which tells you the danger was real. Ruth falls to the ground. She asks him, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" And Boaz doesn't dodge the question. He doesn't pretend he hasn't heard the whispers. He looks at her and says something that changes everything. Ruth 2:11-12. I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. He sees her, not as a Moabite, as someone who made a choice. The harvest continues. Naomi realizes Boaz is being generous and comes up with a plan. On the night of the threshing floor celebration, after Boaz has eaten and drunk and lies down to sleep near the grain pile, Ruth is supposed to go uncover his feet and lie down. It's a marriage proposal, but it's also incredibly risky. She's putting herself in a completely vulnerable position with a man who could exploit her, shame her, or worse. The whole thing happens at midnight when no one can see. Boaz wakes up, startled. There's a woman at his feet. Ruth says, "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." Boaz could have taken advantage. Instead, he protects her. He makes sure she leaves before dawn, before anyone can recognize her and ruin her reputation. And he goes through the legal process to marry her, even though there's another relative with a closer claim who backs out the moment he realizes a Moabite woman is involved. Boaz marries Ruth. They have a son named Obed. Obed has a son named Jesse. And Jesse has a son named David, the shepherd boy who becomes king, whose line leads straight to Jesus. So here's what this means. You think your background disqualifies you. You think where you came from, or what people call you behind your back, or the label that everyone attaches to your name before they even hear your story, is the final word on what you're allowed to become. Ruth was the foreigner, the Moabitess, the one who wasn't supposed to be there. And she walked straight into her reputation and made a choice anyway. Not because she had permission. Because she saw what was true and refused to let fear write the ending. That choice is still available. It's available right now. And it might be the only thing standing between you and the life you think you've already been disqualified from.